You know that feeling when you use an app or maybe load a website and it just works?
Yeah, perfectly every time. Or hopefully, most times.
Exactly. But there's actually a ton of work that goes into making that happen behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A critical piece of that puzzle.
hmm
Automation testing. And the folks who make it happen, the automation test engineers.
And that's what we're diving into today. We got a great set of sources from one of our listeners, actually.
Hmm.
Articles, insights, all about building quality software using automation.
Looks like we've got stuff on what the testers do day to day, the skills they need.
Yeah, even the challenges they face and some future trends for 2025.
Right. So the plan is to unpack all of this.
Yep. Cut through jargon, pull out the key insights, and give you a really clear picture of this whole area, why it matters, what's involved.
And where it's heading. Sort of the shortcut guide to automation testing.
Exactly. So let's kick things off. Based on these sources, what is automation testing at its heart?
Well, the sources break it down pretty simply, actually. It's basically using specialized tools and writing scripts
Okay.
to run tests on software automatically, then comparing what actually happens with what you expected to happen.
And reporting the differences, I guess.
Exactly. Reporting the findings.
And how does that stack up against, manual testing, where someone's literally clicking through?
That's the key contrast the sources draw. Automation is generally way faster
Faster.
and much more reliable because, well, computers don't get bored or make typos. It removes that human inconsistency.
Makes sense.
Plus, it's perfectly repeatable. You run the same test 1,000 times, you should get the same result, which is vital.
And speed. That must have a big real-world impact. Did the sources give any examples?
Yeah, one source had a great one. A company brought in an automation framework
Mm-hmm.
and cut their regression testing time. This rerunning old tests to check for new bugs.
Right, making sure you didn't break anything.
Exactly. They cut that time by 70%.
Yeah, 7-0. Wow, 70%. Just think about what that does for development speed.
It's huge. Now, the sources are clear. Manual testing still has its place.
Oh, sure. For things like exploring the software, user experience.
Precisely. Things that need that human intuition or nuance.
Mhm.
But for the big, complex projects with lots of tests you have to run over and over.
Like those regression tests.
Yeah, or load testing, performance testing. Automation is really where it's at. There's an upfront cost, sure, tools,
Mhm.
building the test.
Right, it takes time to set up.
But the sources argue the long-term payoff in speed, reliability, and just managing the maintenance versus scaling a manual team.
Mm-hmm.
It usually makes sense.
Okay, so let's talk about the people driving this, the automation test engineers. What's their role according to the sources?
One really clear thing from the sources is how integrated they are now. They're not just tacked on at the end.
Look, just gatekeepers.
No, they're involved early, helping validate things quickly, saving a lot of back and forth. A big part of their job is actually developing the strategy.
Strategy, like
Yeah.
deciding what to automate.
Exactly. Figuring out which tests give the most bang for the buck to automate, choosing the right tools for the job, setting up the test environments.
And then the hands-on stuff, writing the tests.
Yep. Writing and, crucially, maintaining the test scripts. Software changes constantly, right?
All the time.
So those scripts need to keep up. It's an ongoing job.
And they run these scripts using different tools, frameworks.
Right. Tools you might have heard of, like Selenium for web stuff, maybe Cypress, Jonit for Java code. They execute the tests, analyze what comes back, find the problems.
Okay.
And a really key part now, almost non-negotiable according to the sources, is plugging these tests into the CI/CD pipeline.
CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. How does automation fit there?
It means the automated tests basically run automatically every single time a developer checks in new code.
Ah, so instant feedback.
Pretty much. It tells developers straight away if their change broke something important. Catches issues much, much earlier. Super efficient.
Makes sense. What else are they involved in?
Often performance testing, too, using tools like JMeter to simulate lots of users and see how the software holds up.
Stress testing it.
Yeah. And importantly, it's not a solo job. The sources really emphasize communication. Close collaboration with the development team is key.
Why is that so critical?
Well, they need to deeply understand the requirements, help design good test cases, and then work with the developers to figure out and fix any bugs quickly. It's a team effort.
So digging into their actual day-to-day, what specific tasks did the sources mention?
Well, beyond just reading requirements docs, they spend a lot of time really analyzing the system they're testing.
Getting under the hood.
Yeah, figuring out how it actually works, how users interact with it, It's more than just a checklist.
That sounds like where the analytical skills really come in, breaking things down.
Absolutely. And another key task highlighted is that strategic decision-making we touched on. What actually gets automated?
Right, not just automating everything blindly.
No, exactly. They look at a feature or a test case and weigh the effort of creating and maintaining the automation against the benefit. Is it worth it for this specific thing? They provide that expert input,
Interesting. So they're advisors too, in a way.
definitely. They also spend time building and improving automation frameworks.
Okay, frameworks. That sounds like more than just writing one-off test scripts.
Yeah, think of it like building a toolkit or an assembly line for testing. It's a structured system that makes writing new tests easier and more consistent.
Ah, like reusable parts.
Exactly. Reusable code for common things like logging in, setting up data, handling pop-ups. It keeps things organized and maintainable.
Efficiency and easier upkeep then.
Right. And these frameworks need maintenance too, just like any software. Adding new features, like running tests in parallel to save time.
Running multiple tests at once.
Yeah. Or improving how results are reported, managing test data better. They also build reusable bits within the framework, applying that don't repeat yourself idea. Sometimes it's technical stuff, sometimes it's specific to the business logic, like standard calculations.
It really sounds like a mix of skills, programming, strategy, problem solving.
For sure. And the sources are really clear on what skills are needed. Programming is number one.
Makes sense. They're writing code.
Yep. Need to be proficient in at least one language. Java, Python, C# are common mentions. Solid coding ability is fundamental.
What else beyond the actual coding?
A really solid grasp of testing itself. The concepts, different types of testing, methodologies, how to measure test coverage. That's vital for designing tests that actually work well.
Knowing what to test and how.
Exactly. Database skills often come up to SQL, maybe NoSQL, and obviously knowing the tools. Selenium, API testing tools, the whole landscape.
It's not purely technical, though, is it? What about softer skills?
Oh, absolutely critical, according to the sources. Communication, collaboration, we mentioned how important working with the team is,
Right?
and a really sharp eye for detail, spotting those small inconsistencies that might indicate a bigger problem.
So being meticulous.
Definitely. One source put it nicely. They get paid to solve problems, anticipate issues, and improve quality proactively, not just type code.
Okay. But it sounds challenging, too. What kind of hurdles do they typically face?
One big one mentioned is just keeping up. Technology moves so fast. New tools, new frameworks, new ways of building software. Requires constant learning.
Yeah, that tech treadmill.
Yeah.
What about challenges with the software itself?
Dynamic UIs are a classic headache.
Things moving around on the screen.
Yeah, elements that appear or change based on what the user does. If your test script isn't smart about how it finds buttons or fields,
It breaks easily.
exactly. You need robust ways to locate elements in proper wait conditions, making sure the test pauses for things to load.
Okay. What else?
Getting tests integrated smoothly into that CI/CD pipeline can be tricky. If tests take too long, they slow everything down.
The developers won't be happy.
No. So optimizing tests, maybe running them in parallel, using tools to manage the test, runs orchestration tools that becomes important, and device fragmentation, just the sheer number of phones, tablets, browsers, operating systems.
How do they handle testing on all of those?
Often using cloud-based device farms, the sources say, services that give you access to thousands of real or simulated device configurations.
Right. And cost must be a factor, too. Setting it all up, keeping it running.
Always. The sources suggest tackling it in phases, automate the highest impact tests first.
Prioritize.
Yeah, and build things in a reusable, modular way with good version control. That helps manage the maintenance cost, because, yeah, when the application changes, the tests have to be updated. Good maintenance practices are essential.
So connecting this all together, the role is clearly changing. And looking ahead to 2025, the sources point to some really interesting trends. Feels like AI is a big part of it.
Oh, definitely. AI is popping up everywhere in the discussions for 2025. One big trend mentioned is agentic AI.
Agentic AI, what's that?
Think of AI systems that act more autonomously. Less like tools, more like,
Yeah.
well, like a team of smart testing assistants.
So AI making its own decisions about testing.
Kind of. Moving beyond just running a pre-written script to making decisions about, say, test coverage or optimizing which tests to run or even helping fix broken tests with less human input.
Interesting. What else is AI influencing?
Another big one is AI shift right.
Shift right means, yeah.
Shifting the focus more towards understanding how the software behaves after it's released in production. analyzing real user behavior.
So testing based on live data, not just pre-scripted scenarios.
Exactly. The idea is tools that plug into live systems, gather data on user experience, and maybe even use predictive models based on that real data to find or anticipate problems.
Wow.
One source even talked about a platform aiming for zero test maintenance
Zero maintenance.
by capturing what real users are doing, taking snapshots of those sessions, and automatically generating tests from that live data, continuously learning.
That does sound like a potential revolution for test scripts.
It's a bold vision. Another trend mentioned is everyone is QA.
Everyone is QA, making testing more accessible.
Yeah, largely driven by low-code or no-code testing tools, often boosted by AI. These make it easier for people who aren't specialist testers, like business analysts, maybe even developers, to contribute to testing.
Breaking down the silos.
Right. Trying to make quality everyone's responsibility.
But it's not just about handing everything over to AI or simpler tools, is it?
No, and the sources really stress this. The human in the loop is still essential.
Okay.
The future isn't seen as replacing testers, but combining human skills, judgment, intuition, deep understanding with AI speed and data crunching.
A hybrid approach.
Exactly. That combination is expected to lead to faster testing, better bug finding. The tester's role evolves more towards strategy, quality advocacy.
Guiding the process.
Yeah, blending their traditional skills with AI knowledge, DevOps practices, integrating quality across the whole delivery pipeline.
And are the tools themselves becoming more integrated?
That's another trend.
Yeah.
End-to-end autonomous quality platforms.
Meaning?
Platforms that aim to combine everything, functional testing, usability, performance, accessibility, security, into one framework, relying more on these big integrated systems, using AI to automate more of the whole life cycle.
A one-stop shop for quality.
Sort of, yeah.
And in terms of specific tools, did the sources point to any frontrunners for 2025?
Playwright comes up repeatedly as a strong contender.
Playwright. Why is that?
Noted for being versatile, reliable, good performance, especially for handling different browsers and API testing. Its adoption seems to be growing fast compared to some others.
Faster than Selenium, for example.
Seems so, though Selenium is still everywhere, especially in older projects. And Cypress is mentioned as holding steady for front-end work. But one source wisely adds, the best tool always depends on your specific project and team.
Right, no silver bullet. What about programming languages? Is there a leader for new projects?
Python seems to remain the top choice for automation testing.
Why Python?
Readability, great libraries, and critically, its dominance in AI and machine learning ties right into those future trends we discussed.
Makes sense. What about others?
Java is still huge, very prevalent, especially for maintaining existing test suites. But for new frameworks, the trend seems to lean strongly towards JavaScript and TypeScript.
Okay, interesting shifts there.
Definitely.
So pulling all these threads together from the sources, this deep dive really underscores how vital automation testers are. They're key to making the software you use every day reliable.
Absolutely. It's clearly a dynamic field. You need that blend of coding chops, analytical thinking, and just constant learning.
We've seen what they do day to day, building frameworks, making those tough calls on what to automate.
Yeah, and tackling those gnarly technical challenges.
And those 2025 trends are pretty fascinating. AI is obviously the big driver.
Agentic AI, shift-right testing based on real users, those end-to-end platforms.
And that idea of everyone is QA with low-code tools, but still needing that crucial human element.
Right. Plus the tech specifics, like Python staying strong, Playwright rising, TypeScript gaining ground. It paints a clear picture of where things are moving.
Understanding all this really gives you insight into how your digital tools get built, how they become more dependable, more secure.
It's that intersection of technical skill and focused problem solving, all aiming for better quality.
And this whole discussion, drawing from the sources, leaves us with a really interesting thought for you, the listener, to consider.
Yeah.
As these AI tools start making promises like zero test maintenance, learning from real users, generating tests from live data, what does that really mean for the future of the traditional test script?
And maybe more profoundly, what does it mean for the role of the automation tester, the person who historically wrote those scripts? If quality assurance becomes truly autonomous,
What does that essential human in the loop actually do in that world? Is that future right around the corner?
definitely something to mull over.